You know that scene in like Day of the Doctor where like the War Doctor, the 10th Doctor, and the 11th Doctor are all like stood up and they're all just like going like, okay, well this is a very terrible plan and almost certainly won't work, but we might as well try it because it's a really good idea because we might actually, save our planet, save our species, all of that sort of stuff. That is kind of like how I feel right now. Um, so just hear me out for a sec. Bear with me for like however long this video is. So it's definitely something that we can say right now that Incredibox is definitely not as popular as it was in 2023 or 2024. It has, in some YouTubers' like words, quote unquote, dying. And even though I don't personally think that it is dying, I feel like that, it's just, been a very slow year for Incredibox. I do definitely believe that the golden age of like Scratch and all that is over. But a real question that I have for you right now is, like, instead of sitting and then just, like, patiently waiting for, Judgment Day to happen, what can we, as a community, do to stop this? Well, I have a plan. A plan, for instance, with a couple of ideas inside of it. And I hope that you can just hear me out on this plan, okay? It is completely ridiculous. It's completely unfeasible. But it is still a plan, and nobody else has really come up with a plan, which is stupid, because I feel like that we need to come up with something to, keep the community alive. So, I have divided this up into 3 steps. The first step is this YouTube account. So, obviously, I don't want to just do, like, normal, like, Incredibox, oh, okay, I'll put the polo here, like, type of reviews, like that Nista and every other, like, YouTuber does nowadays. I know that I can't do that. I'm not really that interesting to actually like have my opinion shown, and I've played all of the mods like that I really want to play to begin with. I will obviously play like unique mods and all of that sort of stuff, but like I've played all of the mods that I really have to, and I don't have like a amazing opinion. I usually just like play them in silence, which is why the hell I always stutter over my words all the time if you haven't guessed. But I do have a way to go around this, and that is, I can't really change the content because it's Incredibox, but I can, however, change the format. I can change how, like, it will be presented, which is what I'm doing with these retrospectives instead of, like, these, like, reviews. So, that is the first thing that I'm going to really be saying to you right now. We can change this community. We can change all what's happening by changing around the content in a slightly different way. That is my first step and idea. The second step is to create some sort of interactable sort of events within the community. And I have a couple of like ideas that I have that we could approach this with. So the first one that I have the idea for is the concept of game jams. So you know what a game jam is, right? Okay, like a bunch of people sign up for this little competition where there's a fixed amount of time to do something, has a prompt, and then all of this sort of stuff happens afterwards. Winner, all of that sort of thing. And I have this idea that I think we could do this with Incredibox Scratch mods. Maybe mainline mods at a later date, but right now I think Scratch is the best, like, sort of opportunity. Now, my way of doing this is simply that I will announce like a game jam either in the community post or a video, then I will give the prompt of what the hell it could be. It could be like a joke mod or a horror mod, or it could have like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory in it, I don't know. Judgment! But the idea is that I do all of that, and maybe I could put it in like a studio on Scratch maybe, and I could either like maybe have like a live stream type of thing, or I show what I really want to do and all of this sort of stuff. I'm not really good with lives, to be fair. Don't really know how they work, but we'll see for ourselves. And I will make a separate video that is either like that will be like here's the winners, and I will probably get some judges as well just to help off with that. Another idea that I have is just like plain old competitions. I don't know how this would work, maybe like music competitions, art competitions, maybe even mod competitions as well that could be different from game jams. I don't know how they could be different, maybe you could tell me a way how they could be different, however. Like, I'm thinking like getting like one of those what are they called again? Those little ranking systems. I'll put one on the screen. You know what these are, right? These tournament things. Maybe do some stuff with that. And as well as that, if you know me as a person, you definitely know about my idea of Project F. I'm not going to talk about what Project F is, okay? That's up for you to decide. But I'm going to say this right now. I am basically going to keep this community alive just so that Project F will see the light of day. That is how determined I am. And step 3, which is your ideas, okay? It's one thing to say that I have the perfect plan. I don't have the perfect plan. But I think the better way to get closer to the perfect plan is by getting some people's other ideas. Other people from the community, other people from whatever the hells, to really help with what I'm doing. Because at the end of the day, I'd much prefer it if the whole community gets together and tries to stop, you know, the Incredibox or whatever the hell you want to call it from happening, as opposed to just sitting like a duck like Neaster, right? So, those are my 3 little like ideas, 3 steps, if you will, of my plan. Now, granted, it is a completely awful plan. It is definitely like 1% type of way to work, but in the words of the Doctor, you could have hope, and right now that is exactly what you don't have. So, you should definitely have hope, because at the end of the day, we all love this really stupid game of 7 shirtless dudes that sing, right? And I don't want this community to fall. So, you know, there are definitely a couple of negatives to this. Mostly that it probably won't work, and also I become the new Deaster. But I do think that it is something that we could probably do together as a community, and somehow, in some way, stop, well, time from consuming us as all. So, I ask you very, very kindly, very, very kindly, help me create an Incredibox renaissance. Because nobody else is going to do it, so I might as well do it. So, you know, without further ado, make sure that you question everyone and everything, and goodbye.